Have you ever sat in a doctor's office and just wondered, what are they really thinking? Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to open up the general practitioner's toolkit, and I'm not talking about the stethoscope or the blood pressure cuff. We're going to explore the essential, often invisible skills they have to use to navigate the wild, complicated world of human health every single day.
Right. To get a sense of what a GP is up against, let's just start here. Now, I know this quote might seem, well, a little blunt, but it's a perfect, unfiltered reminder that for a GP, absolutely no topic is off limits. From the most personal issues to the most common colds, they've seen it, they've heard it all. This explainer is all about unpacking the skills you need to handle that messy, unpredictable, and deeply human side of medicine.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll nail down what a GP actually is. Then, we'll dive into the daily challenges they're facing. We're going to unpack the art of listening and the method behind their questions. And finally, we'll look at what it really takes to care for the whole person, not just a symptom.
All right, Section 1. What is a GP? You know, most of us think of it as a place, right? The clinic down the street. But it's so much more than a building. It's a whole philosophy of how to practice medicine.
It all boils down to these 4 big ideas. First, it's comprehensive. A GP has to be a little bit of a cardiologist, a little bit of a dermatologist, a bit of everything. Second, it's continuous. This isn't a one-and-done visit. They build a relationship with you over years. They're also coordinative, kind of like your personal tour guide through the confusing maze of specialists and hospitals. And maybe most important of all, it's personalized. The care is based on knowing you, the person, not just the file with your name on it.
Okay, so if that's the philosophy, what's the day-to-day reality? Well, that brings us to the daily challenge. And the key word here is unpredictable. The sheer randomness of what a GP has to deal with from one 10-minute slot to the next is just mind-boggling.
This one sentence says it all. I mean, think about it. A heart surgeon knows they're going to see a heart problem. And these specialists knows they're getting a knee problem. A GP, they have absolutely no clue what's about to walk through that door. Just try to picture a typical waiting room. You've got someone with arthritis sitting next to someone having chest pains, you've got dizziness, headaches, all the usual stuff. But then, look at the bottom of the list. The disturbed patient, families in crisis. The job isn't just medical. It's the entire messy, complicated spectrum of human life, walking in and asking for help. So, when you're facing all of that, what's the very first tool you reach for? Well, it's not a fancy scanner or a lab test. It's something much more fundamental, the art of listening. And it just might be the most powerful and the most underrated instrument they have.
So let me ask you directly, what do you think it is? What's their most powerful tool? A piece of tech? A specific medical test? The real answer is probably not what you're thinking.
The answer is the ability to truly listen. Because get this, research has shown that the average doctor interrupts their patient after just 18 seconds. 18 seconds. Just think about that for a moment. How much crucial information gets lost when we're in such a rush to diagnose? This is why learning how to listen isn't some soft skill. It's a critical diagnostic procedure.
So, how do you fight that 18-second instinct to jump in? Well, skilled GPs use a really disciplined method, like this open to closed cone. Instead of interrupting, they start by just facilitating. They just let the patient talk, using little prompts like, or tell me more. Then they move to broad open questions like, so what's been going on? It's only after they've got the big picture that they gradually narrow in with more specific questions. And they finish by summarizing it all back just to make sure they got it right.
Of course, listening is only half of it. The other half is explaining. And it's not just about avoiding the big, complicated jargon. To be honest, the real danger is in the words that a doctor might think are simple. Words like tumor, or rare, or complication. To a patient, those words can be absolutely terrifying and mean 100 different things. Choosing simple, clear language isn't about dumbing it down. It's an essential skill for building trust and making sure you're both on the same page.
Okay, so that art of listening, that gives the GP the raw data, the clues. Next up, we have the diagnostic blueprint. This is the hidden method behind their questions. This is where the art of medicine really meets the science.
So a patient comes in and says, I just feel tired all the time. Where do you even begin? Well, GPs have these brilliant mental models, these cognitive shortcuts, like this one, the 7 masquerades.
It's basically a mental checklist of common culprits that love to hide behind vague symptoms. So before they even think about ordering a bunch of expensive tests, they'll run through this list. Could it be depression, diabetes, a side effect from a drug? It's a way to make sure they don't miss the usual suspects.
And here's another layer of that thinking in action. Let's take a specific problem, like an older person who keeps falling. A GP's brain immediately kicks into a structured process. First, they think about the serious, not-to-be-missed stuff, the life-threatening things like a stroke or a heart problem. Once that's clear, they consider the pitfalls, the tricky diagnoses that are really easy to miss, like early Parkinson's or balance disorder. This isn't just random guessing. It's a rigorous safety-first system.
All right, on to our final section, caring for the whole person. Because, let's be honest, a diagnosis is just a label. A patient is a person, and a GP's job goes way, way beyond just figuring out the disease.
A truly great GP has to be a bit of a chameleon. See, if a patient is really confused or just totally overwhelmed, a direct, doctor-centered approach might be what's needed. Here's what you need to do. But for so many others, a patient-centered style is the way to go. Here, the doctor is more of a facilitator, a guide, helping the patient figure out their own solutions. The real skill is knowing when to be the expert in charge and when to be the coach on the sidelines.
This model right here is a perfect example of what holistic thinking actually looks like in practice. When dealing with something as incredibly complex as suicidal behavior, a GP can't just look at one slice of the pie. They have to understand how all these things overlap and interact. The psychiatric disorder, the person's personality, what's happening in their life, their family history, their biology, it's all connected. Their job is to see the whole picture.
And that brings us to what might be the GP's most vital role of all, being the linchpin of the whole system. You know, healthcare today is so fragmented. You've got all these different specialists and hospitals. The GP is the one person holding it all together for you. They're your coordinator, your advocate, your translator, the one who makes sure you don't get lost.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. We're moving into a world with AI doctors, with incredible technology, with a specialist for every tiny part of the body. In that world, what is the true value of that continuous, personal human connection that really defines general practice? What's the future of the GP's toolkit? Something to think about.